Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
We're back.
Ruben Bressler.
Let me put this thing on real quick.
Oh, my God. Nepalsler.
Yes.
Yeah.
28 days later, realness.
Catmandu
Yes.
doesn't have the best air quality, so
Wow.
I might just do this for the. No, I'm kidding. The hotel we're in has really good air conditioning. So
Well, that's
Always a
good.
plus. Yeah.
I mean,
that's
Ruben,
nice.
you've been on a worldwide crazy fest tour.
a Nepal wide, not worldwide.
There you go. Far enough.
Yeah, we had a bit of an adventure getting here. I was actually the only one of the five of us that made my initial trek on the scheduled flight. Everyone else got rerouted because of snow that happened in the East Coast and the Midwest 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
And so, but we all ended up getting here, and we had a lovely visit to Kathmandu and Patan and Pokhara and Chitwan. I highly recommend Nepal for anybody that has the ability to climb stairs and hills.
So many stairs, I can only imagine.
Yeah, there are so many stairs and so many hills. The entire country is on an incline. So
Wow. Well, I myself got to drive about 2,000 miles over 4 days over the wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. That was fun.
Nice.
To Tennessee and then to Virginia, back to Orlando. It was all very, very exciting.
Yeah.
But
you also had not just Tennessee, but middle of nowhere cabin by the river, Tennessee.
we did. I did stay in. My family has a cabin by the river in the middle of nowhere, and it's great. And as I was saying, once the kids were fully realizing that there was no internet to come and save them, there was no Netflix that was going to entertain them. Before you know it, they were throwing rocks, and they loved it.
Crap. We actually got to communicate with each other. That's not good.
I mean, same.
I had a good
Throwing
time.
rocks.
It was fun. So that said, we also get started with our trumpet blast, which you can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. Don't have one this week, but you can get you one. And with that, we kick it off with our first pick of the giveaway. The giveaway is was it raffle? Yeah, raffle. We'll
Yes,
get you into
raffle.
We'll get you into the raffle for a $50 gift certificate. You get 2 entries if you're a sub, so sub up and get them extra entries. We start with our first pick here, which is really interesting. It is the artist. There are multiple artists now that have decided to boycott Magic Fest. This originally started, of course, on CoolStuffInc.com, where Mike Linneman had basically helped to gather up to get names to be attached to a letter to explain how the artists were feeling at these events, and as a result, they were going to boycott them and no longer attend them. And really interesting in the way that Channel Fireball and CFB Events, exactly. So first up, let's just start right here. Channel Fireball and CFB Events are two separate entities. They don't necessarily have the same people in them, not necessarily the same person working on that website is running your Grand Prix. Okay, so let's make sure that's clear. That wasn't clear before. But there are artists who signed on, then there are even more artists who signed on later who added after the initial posting, such as Dave Kendall and Darkin and David Palumbo, who we'll talk about here in a minute. Mm-hmm. And so CFB Events decided to run a Ask Me Anything today. This was interesting.
It was a choice.
It was a choice. Like if you're going to hit it head on was where they were going. And so they originally had a thread up where they kind of explained that things were great by explaining how things currently were. And as I've read throughout their replies and seeing how they are sort of talking about this situation with the artists, I believe I understand what CFB Events is doing wrong. Channel Fireball Events is literally doing it backwards. Let me give you an example. Ruben and Aaron.
Hi. Yes.
I would like you guys to come to a party. Would you guys be all right with that?
Yeah,
you want to come to a party?
Yeah, parties. Well, I mean, I'm a bit of an introvert, but I could force myself to leave.
Is there going to be food?
Well, see, but hold on here. Ruben is way cooler than you are, Aaron. So if Ruben wants to come, you can't go. And I don't know if Ruben's going to want to go or not, but if he decides not to go, I'll tell you that you can then go. That's how that works.
Oh, okay.
So this was how I explained it to my children, because this is the way that it's coming off to artists. See?
I see.
This is what CFB Events is currently doing. They are telling every artist, here is the list of events. Let us know which ones you're interested in, and maybe we'll let you know who to contact to see if we have a spot for you. That's bad. If anything, it feels disrespectful. It feels disrespectful that I can invite both of you to a party, but one of you I decide is more important, worth more, is cooler, has a bigger impact than the other person, and then I will automatically disinvite the other person. So it's more like almost like a shotgun invite. I will, you get to pay all your way to come to this if I think you're cool enough and somebody not cooler than you has chosen to skip it. Wow. So that's the problem. You're attacking them. You're not attacking. You're attacking this issue. How do you get artists to the GP? You do not just invite everyone. What are you doing? You don't invite everyone. Here's what you do. First of all, you buy a map. You buy a map, and then you do on that map, you put all the artists on it. I know because we had one at SCG. Go get it. Go get a map. Put artists where they are on the country on that map. So when you go there, you know who to contact. Here's what you do. You contact a person, and that person has an invite, locked in, guaranteed, is making the show, unless they turn it down. You don't offer it to somebody else before you get that answer. You know exactly who you target. So you know if it's, and you're reaching out to them because this is helping your event, and it is also ideally helping them as well. Mm-hmm. And there was this weird takeaway that CFB Events posted at one point. It's like, well, something that we think we've learned here is that we promoted the artist too much, and we may have taken advantage of them. I'm like, are you high? What? Are you kidding me? No, man. Everyone wants to be promoted. They're artists. They got ego. They like to see posts about themselves. They want people to know that they're going to be there and that people are excited to come meet them. That's the whole point. Don't stop doing that. That's dumb. Look, you need to figure out that who is doing who a favor here, because I understand from CFB Events' point of view, this space is not free. You know what I mean? These tables are expensive in what they have to pay in order to sort of what they're getting out of it. But the artists aren't vendors. They don't want to sell stuff. They don't want to have to sell stuff in order to make this weekend worth it to them, because they make art. That's what they do. And if they're in an event, they're not making art. They're at the event. So if you're going to take up 3-4 days of their time, like 1% of their year, and you're getting nothing out of it, they're not getting flown out. They're not necessarily getting hotel rooms. They're not necessarily getting anything beyond that. Oh, we negotiated for CFB Events people to come sit at my booth during lunchtime? Oh my goodness. Well, tell me what's next. Like, come on.
Well, that's if they get a lunch, and we'll get there, some of them weren't even getting lunch breaks, according to this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a deep hole, but the point is, you invite them. And by inviting them, that means you're going to fly them out. By inviting them, that means you're going to give them a hotel room. By inviting them, that means you're going to give them space to show their stuff. You're going to have the event staff there available if they need something. You're going to come by with like bottles of water because they need that stuff. And I thought this was just customary stuff. This is more or less how we treated those that we invited at SCG events. I don't rescind an invite unless I get a no. And I don't go back and tell somebody, sorry, you're just not cool enough to come to this event, even if I tell you the only thing I can do is give you a hotel room. Because you can do that to those who necessarily live nearby. And you'd be like, well, you stay here at the event and you don't have to go all the way back home or whatever, but you're in the area. Again, you know who to target, you know who to invite, not. And this whole 40% of artists or whatever had to be turned down. Don't do that. It's just disrespectful. It's really weird how this shotgun invite became the default. And I understand from a business perspective how it got there. But from an artist perspective, who's doing who a favor?
Yeah. And it also really speaks to the communication. I want to talk about Aaron Miller for a second, who's a magic artist. He had replied to the AMA and he said it really goes down to, for him, it really boils down to guests who are not guests. And so, for example, he says here, I think the issue with promotion comes back to the terms we're discussing here. CFB promotes guests that you clearly say are not guests. This is confusing to players and the artists that show up thinking they should feel like a guest, yet are not. And not all artists are equal guests enough to just change the word, since some are getting guest or even guest treatment. And so the problem is you don't really have a set format. You know, you're telling this one person that they are a guest, which comes with certain rights and privileges, but then this other person is a guest that doesn't come with all those privileges. And so it's very strange that guests seem to mean different things to different people, as opposed to just, you are all our guests. Like, why is that? Why are there tiers of guestdom? I guess I just don't understand that.
Well, there's also the guest of honor thing that I think hasn't been done at GPs since CFB took over, but that has been a thing in the past for GPs and other conventions and other Magic events, which is a whole nother kettle of fish that we won't have to get into right now. But it is weird, and I think that this is more symptomatic rather than, you know, this is not the disease. This is a symptom of CFB, I think, just biting off more than they could chew, trying to take over all of these events. We've seen, you know, cracks in the edges of, you know, hotel information not getting posted until 2 weeks ahead of time, the correct vendor list or the correct hotel deals or the correct address not getting posted on time, not having the artist vendor lists posted, and then having this sort of complication as well. And it's not all CFB Events' fault. CFB Events is a relatively new advent for Channel Fireball. And I understand that they're separate, but that mitosis happened recently. Sure. So, you know, I get that there are going to be kinks in the system. The problem is that if there are kinks in the system for something that's been going on for more than a decade, that is central to this is an aorta to the Pro Tour. This is like the main way that competitive Magic happens. And so when you have something like this with all of these other little cracks in the edges, it becomes a problem. And I think this is just another symptom. The thing for me is that the art is such a visual part of everything that has to, it's on the booster packs, it's on the booster boxes, it's, you know, 40% of every card. Whether or not you're a pro, whether or not you think you pay attention to the art, we're not playing with playtest cards here. So the artists are a huge part of all of this. And if they all get upset and sort of not really unionize, but if they get together and form a Voltron of artists fighting back, I mean, it's very clear why the hashtag pay the artists became a thing.
Yeah. And it's also frustrating when you see them. Somebody had brought up in the AMA thread, one of the CFB people, he was like, well, we're not going to be changing our policies at this time because we have all of these artists who are clearly happy with it. And that's a really bad example to use where, you know, if you have all of these people, you know, it's my understanding that the policies in general are just not great, but it sounds like there are certain artists, you know, like the RK Post, the Therese Nielsen's that, you know, can basically sign ham sandwiches and still have a line around the block, you know. They're able to make up for whatever shortcomings kind of come along with the package in a way that a lower profile artist, and I don't mean any shade by that, might not be able to. You know, an artist who doesn't travel as much, or an artist who's just started kind of traveling, or an artist we haven't heard from in a while. You know, it's very easy for people like RK Post and Noah Bradley, Victor Adame, faces that might have been absent from the letter or might have been absent from the conversation. It's very easy to point to them and say, well, they're happy. And it's like, well, yeah, but there's a reason why they're either being treated better or they have enough of a foundation to where they can make up for the shortcomings. And to me, that just seemed really, that seemed like a really bad angle to take is, well, they're all happy, so we're not changing anything. And it's like, ooh.
I think ultimately it's trying to sort of turn artists into vendors, into salesmen, into businessmen, and they're artists. They like to make art, man. Like make it worth their while to show up, whether that's an appearance fee, whether that's some amount of product. But when you treat somebody as a guest, that means you're bringing them in, no matter what that cost happens to be. And the guest of honor stuff, you know, like, when you get someone like Therese or John Avon, it is different than getting a first-time MTG artist. It just is. There's star power. It is what it is. Sure. And so it's just, it kind of feels like we're in this weird culmination of all these things I've seen over time of where Wizards, like, they both want big events, but they don't want big events. Yeah. And that freaks me out because...
Yeah. Especially now that they've made this Magic Fest shift, you would think that one of the big... I mean... a huge draw, again, this isn't our audience, right? I don't know if this is our audience, honestly, but certainly it's not the three of us, where a huge draw to GPs is people will look up which artists are going to the GPs and decide whether or not they're going to the GP based on the artists that'll be there. and gather up the cards from their collection for those artists. You do that?
I wouldn't say it doesn't hinge on me going, but it's certainly an incentive where if I'm already thinking about going to an event, knowing that there are artists who I want to see will push me over the threshold. I've never not gone to an event because an artist I like isn't going, but if I'm already on the fence, that can help me make that decision. Absolutely.
Right, but yeah, ultimately you are going to put more in staffing and time and resources when you have someone of that star power caliber, and to treat them differently in terms of like you got them first class tickets, for example. Like that's a different thing you can get. You got them a suite at the hotel instead of just another room. Like these are things that you do to show that hey, you're important. It's important. When I got Avon in New Jersey, there were a lot of people who traveled a hell of a long way just to see John Avon, to get their stuff signed, to go through the line as many times as they could. That was a thing.
When I went to GP Montreal for Time Spiral Block Constructed, that was a long time ago. That was one of the first GPs I'd ever heard of that had artists at it. And two of the artists that were there were Rob Alexander and RK Post. I think this was like the third or fourth event that RK Post had ever done. And you think about that now, where he just goes to pre-releases and stuff. Like this was a brand new thing. And their lines, no joke, were down the wall of the entire convention center, of the entire room that they rented out for the GP.
Wow.
So it was, this is a thing that has been very popular for a very long time. Now, there are a couple of small things I do want to point out here. Folks like RK Post do make their own personal tokens that have nothing to do with Magic art. Or folks like, for example, Christopher Rush had D&D art and other fantasy things. Jason Chan, very similar. And so the line of what is a Magic artist, like if over 50% of your stuff isn't Magic related or something like that, but that's for the accountants and the lawyers to decide. I'm just pointing it out that is a thing that exists, is that they do other fantasy art as well. And so if you're giving them a Magic booth for free, do you then start rules on that? And gets really awkward as well. The second thing I would point out is, these events that are like huge, like yearly, like Vegas, or you're trying to make like Richmond, or like Charlotte was that one time. If you're trying to make these huge events that have like 30 artists all at it, that's one thing, right? But the smaller GPs, when you only have 3, 4, 5 artists, charging them just doesn't make any sense to me, because they're such a huge percentage of the draw, right? Like you can have 20 artists and then one of the artists opts out, and it's that's a comparative lessened blow. But for the small GPs, then smaller GPs, it doesn't make as much sense to me.
I will just, and we got to keep moving. Obviously we missed 2 weeks of stuff, so I just want to leave it on this one. Dave Palumbo, who is an MTG artist, posted on Facebook essentially what he sort of described as the way that things went, where he got invited to a show, but then they told me I wasn't actually being asked to go until they found out who else wanted to go. So basically I was invited as long as nobody more interesting was available, which again, this comes to the disrespect thing I was talking about. You just feel disrespected when that happens. It just happens. And then I think he ends here, said, but I think the real genius move, the little chisel that truly captures the current system, is when I got an email telling me who I could contact to be considered for shows and who to email to get put on the maybe list. Wow. Started out as a guest, ended up having to ask for the privilege of bringing myself out if they might have space for me, and then all on his own dime. Like, it's, again, I don't think that CFB has just put themselves in the artist's shoes. And like, have you ever been invited to something, but you can't go unless you meet a certain cool factor? Like, that's just awful. So
I guess I just don't know what changed, like this, I mean, it's...
Yeah, I don't know what brought this about.
Yeah, because we're hearing about this now, but I'm under the impression from some of the artists that this has been going on for a while, but it wasn't always this way. And so is it the monopoly that's caused this? Or?
Well, you had different TOs operating in different fashions. So that's why they got different, levels of being taken care of and being treated in that way. So now that there's only one person doing that, and I understand why, because it's the path of least resistance. This is the easiest method for CFB. This is great for CFB. I throw out a net, I pull that net back, and I see who wants to be there, and I get to pick and choose who's there. Absolutely, that's terrific, but it's total garbage on the other side of that equation. And you can fix that by making it a little harder. Yes, it's a little harder, it's slower, but picking out who you want to go, giving them honest to God invites, treating them well, and building marketing campaigns that take advantage of them. At the instant you get someone to say yes, you better be shouting from the rooftops about that stuff. Get it on the page. Can you do anything promotionally with these people? Can you print some cards? Most of them have like unlicensed stuff that they have that they made of their own accord that you can take and print, make something neat with them. Make a postcard, make a promo card. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas on the wall here, people.
I mean, they can barely remember to tag the artist when they preview their cards. I mean, don't even get Mike Linneman started on that.
I mean, and that's Wizards proper. So, like, I'm just saying, don't come at me with this. We promoted them too much, and that's our problem. Like, I can't. Don't.
Miss me with that, for sure.
Please miss me with that. But everything else, I feel like I want to make an inroad on, like, honest to God, like, business to business. I'm being for real here as a marketing professional. You are pissing these people off. And if you don't stop, it's going to get worse.
Yeah. And it's gathering traction is the other thing. Like the Reddit thread for this has like 2,700 upvotes. Mm-hmm. That's a ludicrous number. So they got to solve this quick.
All right. So let's keep moving here. To gather the townsfolk. First thing up, Ultimate Masters was not fully spoiled when we last talked about it, but it did get fully spoiled later, and it's awesome. They crushed it. A expected value of over $425. Back to Basic showed up right at the end, so everybody could go nuts over it, which was great. There were a few, I felt, giant uncommons that we could have seen a reprint of, mainly Goblin Lore and Manamorphose, so you don't have to pay
some
infinite.
Pleasant surprises as well. Entomb was in there. I don't believe that was spoiled before. I literally just went through that spoiler and just sobbed. Like, it's basically if I had to make an Ultimate Masters set.
It's Aaron Campbell Masters. Yeah.
It's very close to Aaron Campbell Masters. A lot of stuff.
That new Grave Troll is dope.
My sweet prince, we got so excited, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me at F&M. I finally got to go to F&M this past weekend. After 6 months, I started a new job, and I work second shift, and so I was so happy to finally get back to F&M. And I can't tell you how many people went up to me, and they were like, does this mean it's getting unbanned? And I was like, sadly, no. I was like, but there's still a place in my heart for Great Troll.
Oh, man. And also what they've done to Pauper, oh, my God. They put foil and Gush in this format.
Enjoy your formats.
They didn't ban anything, and we'll get to that in a minute, but they didn't ban anything, so they're just gonna watch Pauper implode, just like they did with Peregrine Drake, and then we're going to beg them, dear God, please get this ridiculous combo out of my format. Because there's a ton of stuff that they downgraded. Dimir Guildmage, Fire and Ice. I mean, Resurrection, and honest to God, like, you have Exhume, which is great, but that's both players. This is an honest to God reanimate spell in Pauper. First time, far as I know, that they've ever had one. So
the Slum Reaper effect is a big deal too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
having the Fleshbag Marauder effect in Pauper, I saw the Pauper folks really excited about that. Yeah. The downshift from rare to uncommon for an $8 Laboratory Maniac was a huge deal. This set is great.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrific and super exciting. I'm super pumped to see what happens with Pauper. A lot of cards that can give you different ways to build decks. And again, effects they haven't gotten that they've been waiting on forever and ever. Reckless Worm is now in red and common, just like the green version was, has been for a while. Yep. So it's really sweet.
Arrogant Worm is common?
It was common on a master set. They made it common.
Okay.
They downgraded it one master set, and this is the other master set to get the Gred version.
Awesome.
Which is great. So that's super fun. And again, UMA has been selling great. Don't listen to anyone who's telling you that it's not selling. It is selling. Like, those boxes are worth money.
I haven't heard Rudy shouting from the mountaintops about Ultimate Master. So I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, certainly before, I think there was a lot of doom and gloom, and now he's just like, oh, this set's actually fantastic because the set's great.
Yeah.
So good job, Wizards, on like just pumping up the crazy value. And the best thing that could happen is on that Monday where Saffron Olive is just like, yeah, this Sets EV is stupid and fantastic.
For me, the face crack moment was when Back to Basics, when it was just like, no way. Where like you knew that the train was not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. So that was terrific. That said, we had a weird kind of fallout thing where there's a member of the finance community, James Chilcott, who also I think is a friend of the show, and he talks about finance, particularly on Twitter a lot, and he kind of said something about Back to Basics being reprinted or hearing that it had been reprinted, which then led to, well, see, that was CFB's preview, which then led to, of course, CFB is talking to James, and it's like, what? There's lots of people in this chain, first of all, that, and then later LSV had to be like, seriously, like 3 people at CFB knew it. Like me, the editor and the graphics guy, like, because that's who needs to know. And same thing happens at Cool Stuff, you know, like certain people have to know so we can just get the thing ready. The person who writes an article about it has to see the card, you know, stuff like that. But I don't think there's a big conspiracy there. James didn't have any to sell anyway, so it's not like he could have, you know, taken advantage of it in some way.
I think LSV even made a joke about it. I think he named one of the uncommons or the commons and was like, yeah, I made like quarters on the dollar or something.
Right. The Angel of Despair being an uncommon now. Right. Yeah. Which is great. So that
was a weird blip that I noticed. It's just like a strange, I don't even know if there's going to be any fallout about it. It was just a weird occurrence.
Wow. And by the way, thank you, JBA734, for gifting 5 subs. Wow.
Christmas has come early.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah, you can gift up to 50 subs on Twitch now, which is delightful. And that's our first gift basket.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
What a nice way to start the holidays.
Yay, that's fantastic. All right. So there was a banned and restricted update, as in...
Was there?
There was no banned and restricted update.
Right.
There was like just watching the sign on the highway and you're like, but
so Aaron can talk about Vintage and Legacy. Evan can talk about Pauper, I guess, and
I guess.
And Standard seems fine. Standard's good. Like Justice for Rampaging Ferocidon is still a thing, but I'm okay. I'm okay without it. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's definitely not broke. It's fun. There's a little too much to ferry, I think, particularly on Magic Arena. There's a lot of Jeskai control. Like there's a lot.
Right.
But
yeah, I was really hoping for an outcome restriction in Vintage. I think outcome is just obnoxious. Outcome, I believe, is one of the reasons why Dredge has not been performing as well lately, because the matchup's not very good for us. And I don't care for outcome. And many people, I feel like outcome suffers from the problem that a lot of previously banned cards have, is that it doesn't really matter where you put it. I've seen people doing Esper outcome, Jeskai outcome. I saw a guy doing Teamer outcome one time with Green Sun Zenith and Titania. Why? Because you can. When you can put outcome in anything and it works, I feel like that's a sign or that's a symptom of a card being too good. And I know that there are other people who feel that way about outcome. And in the grand scheme of things, the metagame's quite healthy. When you look at the top 8 of Eternal Weekend, it was a very diverse metagame, but I just can't. Outcome is just busted. And it's a big part of the reason why I haven't been playing a lot of Vintage lately. I don't like the matchup. I don't enjoy playing against it. And I would have liked to have seen that be restricted. I think Legacy is fine. Legacy is in a very good place right now. Modern, there's a lot of tension brewing around Modern. A lot of people don't like Modern right now.
I was going to say.
And I'm not really sure like what the fix is going to be. You have a lot of people pointing to sort of the trifecta of either Ancient Stirrings, Faithless Looting, or something else, and it's kind of being the most problematic cards. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm seeing a lot of people not liking Modern right now.
So yeah, I just in Standard I just play Carnage Tyrant and Blanchwood Armor, and it's hilarious.
Wow.
Flores wrote about it. Yeah, Flores wrote about it. So I play Vine Mares and Carnage Tyrants and Blanchwood Armors, and it's awesome. I love it. It's
adorable.
About 60% of the time, it works every time. Too many Settle the Wreckages out there, let me tell you, which are really gross. Yeah, which are unfortunate. But that said, no BNR update, no Earthcraft unbanning, no Justice for Stoneforge. No.
Can we talk about Scryfall with the sick burn there, where they were like, they made the announcement of like Scryfall's been updated based on the BNR announcements.
Wow.
Really good.
Nice. All right.
Really good.
Moving on here. At the 2018 Season 2 Invitational, in I believe it happens this coming, or no, not this weekend, but next weekend.
It's coming up soon, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up very soon. The champion of that event is also going to receive an invitation to compete in February's Pro Tour Cleveland, courtesy of Wizards Magic. So Wizards has like given these invites and then taken them away.
Cleveland.
And I think we're back to giving them. I don't know. Wizards has like bounced back and forth as to whether or not it's okay or good for the game. Suddenly there's no more official Magic art on the Open Series mats as of next year, which is a thing. I don't know why that happened either.
That, yeah.
So it's fine. It's just like Wizards doesn't, I don't know if they're not interested anymore. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But either way, that's a thing. And so congrats on whoever gets to snag that invite.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. There is a new format coming for Magic the Gathering Arena on November 30th. That is Friday. They are going to have Cascade Constructed, courtesy of Noxious, which is a popular streamer / YouTuber.
Yep.
And
really good guy. I met him. I've met him a while ago, but I talked to him again at TwitchCon. He was part of the arena stuff at TwitchCon as well. He's just a really great dude.
That's awesome. And so Wizards is ultimately star building streamers. They have, they also have these pros that they pay and that they put in levels and give money to, and appearance fees and all this stuff that you could take advantage of. You know what I mean? Like there's no Javier's, whatever. There's no, PVDDRs, super control mix up or some craziness. I don't know. But like they also have a bunch of stars they could be using. And even some that aren't players, like where's Maria? Like
I do want to give Magic Coverage a specific shout out. You may have noticed on the Magic Twitter account that they officially picked up our friend Colette, Susie the Gnat. She's been known for a while there. She was doing guerrilla coverage of the GPs, specifically for the events where there were no on-camera feature matches. And people would, follow her on Twitter, and she would take pictures. And Wizards finally picked up on how talented she is and how funny she is. And she's an official WotC staff member now. She does coverage. I saw her at GP Milwaukee. She had a little cardigan, and that's a very big get from Wizards. And so she's been running the Magic accounts at the GPs, and I think it's great.
All right.
Nice.
So anyway, that format sounds amazing. I can't wait to break that thing.
Yeah.
What's the best thing you could guarantee would happen? You know what I mean? Like, what's the best 3-drop that no matter when you play a 4-drop you're going to get?
Okay.
That type of stuff.
So this is actual Cascade.
Yeah.
Wow.
The first spell that you play every turn has Cascade.
I'm anxious to see this just from a mechanic standpoint. I'm one of the people who would eventually like Arena to get to the point where, modern and dare I dream, even Legacy or Vintage is allowed there. And so I know one of the issues with that is the technical aspects of the more complicated mechanics, like the storms and the cascades and things like that. And so I'm anxious to see how it works just from that standpoint. Are there a lot of issues with that? Is it seamless? Because to me, that's going to bode well for the future.
Right. So I expect it to do very well and have a lot of fun. So good luck with that. From something that's very fun to something that's not quite as fun, and honestly kind of freaked me out because I just caught up to it like this afternoon, which is unfortunately MTG Youngmage, aka Rhino, had a large seizure, and he spent
a couple of them,
spent the night in the hospital. MTG_PapaMage on Twitter. Posting updates and noted he finished watching Command Zone, eating some breakfast, and he's good to go. So that makes me happy. So he's looking better. So Rhino, all the best wishes. Get better soon.
As a Magic content producer who spent some times in hospitals, then obviously we all wish him the best in his recovery too.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we'll go from there to sort of an interesting, almost like they kind of forgot about it, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, this thing happened."
Yeah.
Mark Rosewater was like, "Oh yeah, I learned that Unstable won an award." And I was like, "That's pretty cool." It's like a Dragon Con, which was like what, 3 months ago, 2 months ago,
like late August.
What do you think of the trophy, Evan? What?
It's fine. It's fine. It's not as bad. Well, first of all, Dragon Con has clearly, had this for a while. This is kind of a motif of theirs. It's sort of the flame. I get it. That's totally cool. This isn't going to someone who won a tournament. This is going to an award, and awards can have different shapes, and that's cool. I'm personally not a huge fan of it, but that's fine. That doesn't.
Wow.
Not all awards are for me.
Rightfully, this is a well-deserved award. You know, Unstable was a set that, you know, did better than I think anybody intended, was full of hits. I don't even like to draft, and I loved drafting Unstable. I drafted it at least 3 or 4 times, and I would gladly do it again. I had so much fun. And more importantly, I think that it's worth noting that Unstable came at just a really interesting point in the community where, you know, we were coming into sort of the winter doldrums of there weren't very many events. We were all dealing with a lot of negativity in the community, and this set was really just sort of the gift that we needed. You know, everybody was having fun again. It brought fun. I know people that don't even normally just play casually. Like I have a lot of friends who are spiky, and if there's not a pro point or a buy involved, they're not doing it. And even they were playing Unstable. Like this was just a set that brought people together during a time of year when we really needed it. And I think that's very important. And it was just a great set.
And
Unstable Limited is probably top 5 limited formats of all time for me.
Wow.
It's like Innistrad was great, and one of the Masters set that had the bounce lands was great, and like Dominaria was really good, but it's like up there with Dominaria. Like I love Unstable Draft. It's so much fun.
Well, my favorite, someone had responded on Twitter, hope this gets made fun of in the next unset. And I was just like, yes, we have reached max meta. That's amazing.
Oh, geez. It was also neat seeing some of the people who unfortunately aren't with Wizards anymore still react to that and say, hey, I contributed something to this, and this is really great.
That's fantastic. So in something that kind of, I guess, sort of snuck up on many, there is a account here, creators MTG Strategist at MTG_strategist, who announced they'd like to announce the first annual MTG Content Creators Awards. For instructions on how you can nominate your favorite content creator, visit their website at mtgcontentcreatorsawards.com. And I'll link here to the tweet itself. I guess it goes without saying. You know. You know.
Depends on what the trophy looks like.
It does depend on what trophy looks like. However, if you don't have the time to nominate us for this, also note, and if you are not able to sponsor us on Patreon, that's totally cool. One of the best things you could do for any show that you like is just go leave a review on iTunes. Go review us on iTunes.
Absolutely.
Seriously, taking those 3 minutes out of your day is just as good. It really is. Though we also like Patreon. That's nothing wrong with that too. But still, that's the thing you do. So, Content Creator Awards, we left a link. I don't have to say it. Do I have to say it?
No.
I don't have to say it. Okay.
Also, I'm not sure that this is like a thing.
No.
You know what I mean?
But, you know, someone's trying
cool.
it. Someone's trying it. No one's done it.
Sure.
Let them run with it.
I guess I can unblock them for the occasion. So.
Oh, wow. If Bob Ross was putting on these awards, he'd be like, mm-mm.
Right.
Nope. No, thank you. Keep your little award. Whatever. Well, look, we're getting into Desperate Ravings. It's time. I need like a little some theme music, like a like a roundup, like a good rodeo roundup of cheaters, y'all. We got cheaters left and right. Good God, what's happening here? We've got, first of all, we have people who are sort of doing the big confession thing. So
2,000 words. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Even if I like you, I'm not reading a 2,000 word diatribe about how you got DQ'd. Like, no.
Well, which one? You know, because we have Fabrizio and Terry posted
oh my God.
a statement of what he did in 2016 of just being like a savage cheater and how he was all super ashamed of it, which, yeah, you should be. And then we have Christian Seibold, who got DQ'd. Now, his was really
dramatic. Like, he made multiple references to like the pain I felt, and I was like, girl, you didn't lose a family, you got DQ'd from an event. Like, let's do that. It's like
essentially it came down to his opponent played a Skyline Scout, and he sat there and tanked on it for so long as to whether or not to counter it, because he had a counter spell, that the guy said go, and then he was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to see if I want to counter it. And knowing that the guy had no more plays that turn is an advantage that you can use. And so the head judge essentially had to make a judgment call, as they do, to say, like, look, you know, were you really angle shooting here in a cheating type of manner? And he's like, I was just in the tank. I was so deep in the tank. It was just, I was tank 30. And I'm like, well, look, dude, if you're in that tank so hard, you should probably say something and be like, on the stack. Just say on the stack. And if you don't respond after that, they can't say that, you know, their turn's over or that you've missed the window. You stay on the stack, you think, you look, you know, like he touched his wee Dragonauts or whatever, and that was like a thing. I mean, come on, man. If you're tanking that hard, let's just learn the lesson, ladies and gentlemen. If you tank that hard, tell somebody, okay? Because if you're gonna tank that hard, you're gonna need some help, clearly, because that guy got DQ'd, and that's unfortunate. And ideally,
a lot of words.
Ideally, again, based on this, if this is all up and up, and he just tanked too hard, he tanked himself to death, they might just let him off easy and just, you know, either cancel the DQ or give him nothing
but
or whatever.
Wasn't this like during the top 8?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So like canceling the DQ doesn't mean he doesn't get, you know,
the prizes or whatever.
Situation.
Yeah, I honestly am not sure, but all I know is that the situation was he waited too long. Don't wait too long. Tell people, but that's just like one of the 3 different cheating stories we have this week. Fabrizio just kind of came and went with what it kind of looks like. You know what I mean? Like he kind of posted it. He noted that like he had to leave social media for a while because everything got bad as you would expect it to, and he was really sad. Then Daniel Fournier was like, "Yo, this guy cheated me in a side event in the Pro Tour Challenge at the Pro Tour Challenge in Atlanta, the side event for the Moto PTQ winners, where we play with our PT decks for 54 digital packs and collect our travel money. He pre-boarded for my deck before the match." It's like, did you just cheat for 54 digital packs? Seriously?
Yeah.
That one was a weird one.
It's just petty. I don't understand it. And I guess ultimately the judges were like, they could run whatever list they wanted, but they requested them to use the PT list or whatever.
Well, I wanna go back to, you know, we like to reference Patrick Sullivan as sort of being like the best person to kind of sum up things in very few words. And, you know, Patrick brought up a really good point. I don't remember if it was after Fabrizio's post or after Seibold's, but Patrick was like, you know, we tend to look at cheaters as sort of being we tend to equate cheaters with like these sort of hardened criminals, when what you really need to be looking at it is it's almost an addiction, where it's not necessarily about what's at stake. Like you're just going to do it. It doesn't matter if you're playing Monopoly with your kids. It doesn't matter if you're whatever. You literally can't help yourself. You have that need, you have that urge. And I really appreciated the way that he kind of changed the discourse a little bit, because I also tend to feel that it's not necessarily something that, you know, people tend to equate it as if you're a murderer, as if you've done this serious offense, when he's like, it's not necessarily like that. It is mental, and there are urges, and I appreciate, and I would have liked to have seen more people build off of that, but I was really glad that he brought that up, because I feel like a lot of people equate that incorrectly.
So I mean, we're back at the cheating's bad, y'all. Cheating's bad. Okay,
Profitable.
I have an idea. Okay, I have an idea that I think would fix a lot of uncomfortable problems with cheaters and cheaters returning to Magic. Okay, hear me out. If you are suspended for 18 months or longer, you may not play at the Pro Tour. Ever. Lifetime. If you do something that gets you an 18-month or longer suspension, you do not get to play on the top stage. So forever. So Alex Bertoncini can make his GP top 8s. We can be uncomfortable about it, and the judges can watch them all they want, but we're never going to be in a situation where he holds up that Pro Tour trophy and gets tens of thousands of dollars because you screwed up too hard. If you do something that is that egregious, that gets you that amount or more, then that's it, GG. And if you get a Pro Tour invite, it literally just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't give it to you. And that's all there is to it. You can still go to the GPs. You can still play in sanctioned Magic. You just can't play at the highest stage. Keep them out of the most expensive or, you know, the most lucrative event that they could cheat at. Keep them out of it.
I like that.
That's my idea.
Pharmacist Judge, our lovely Mon, taking it a step further. You can't play at Comp REL at all.
It's his suggestion, yeah.
Possible. And again, this to me says, you're not necessarily lifetime banning them. What you're saying is you can no longer, you know, here's a line you can no longer cross because what you did don't let you over that line anymore. So that would be interesting. Somebody lost a bet again. Hasn't happened for like 4 years, but somebody lost another bet, and now there's another silver coin.
Oh, good.
With a planeswalker on it. And it's not even the one you would think would be on it.
Shout out to John Dale Beatty, who was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire recently, going on the national stage. He did a wonderful thread, very civil, very thorough thread as to why the coin is bogus. And I didn't know that going into this, but it does seem like a really huge misfire after reading his thread.
I mean, it's pretty clear. The New Zealand Mint charged 145 New Zealand dollars. That's a little over $125 US at the then exchange rate. And you can get them right now for $75 on eBay. So that math don't work. That dog don't hunt, as we say down south, because that makes no sense. So the silver ain't worth crap, and so you're literally just paying for this picture that's on the silver. But the picture on the silver isn't unique, really, in any way. I mean, I guess they've done a little something to it in terms of the background, I think, but I'd have to look up Liliana the Last Hope to be sure, because again, they put Liliana the Last Hope, not Liliana of the Veil, which you'd think would be the number one, picture. They put the Mind Sculptor on Jace's coin. You didn't put Jace Bellerin or Vryn's Prodigy or something on it. So again,
also let's be clear about what they're calling a coin here.
It's a kind of a rectangle chunk of silver.
Yeah,
Speaking
it's like
winning,
the it's like the chips that they use in Casino Royale that are like business card shaped.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of winning bets, Evan, when does our pie bet expire? Because Muslim Secrets has still not top rated anything. So.
Hey, we have till the release of Ravnica Allegiance.
What is that?
End of January.
January.
It's fine. Yeah, the Liliana coin is 1 ounce of pure silver, about $15 is what that silver's worth. So you're going to pay whatever that difference is. The only 5,000 made. I mean, good luck on selling all of them. I mean, more power to you, but it's kind of silly. Noting again what was such an obvious failure with the Jace coins of who is buying this? What is the market? Why that picture? What? None of it makes any sense to me. I can't help it. So, all right, let's move on here to one Noah Bradley. There's a couple people. There's only a couple who are in MTG, and they are very, very pretty, and they totally know it. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. If you got that bod, that's, you go ahead and flaunt it. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up some beefcake to the screen here. If this is your jam, you can pay up the $45 for that playmat.
Man, God bless Noah Bradley, and what a good sport. And he just clearly knows his audience. He's able to laugh at it. He knows he has just a thirsty audience, and that playmat is delightful. And then he even goes on to say that if he sells enough of them, he basically said he has a Speedo and he'll do like a second run of them. And then somebody was like, exactly how many playmats are you looking to sell? And he goes, more than I thought. And so he keeps it vague, and he's just so funny and such a good sport, and just has such an awareness about himself and just his audience, and I love it.
I mean, you look, and the next time it's going to be the Speedo, and he's like, well, if I sell enough of these, maybe I could just wear like a little loincloth or something.
Well, there's a playmat of his that's an illustration, which is supposed to be some guy laying in front of like a nighttime.
Some guy. That is Noah's butt. You want to go see Noah's butt, go look at his Sin of Man stuff, and this dude lands Noah. Look, man, there's nothing wrong with that. Guy's clearly got the butt to show off, so butt it up, bro. It's fine. Butt it up. I'm telling you.
Oh, man.
I mean, good on you, as it were.
On ya, under ya.
Okay. We're going to move on here to some splash damage. We've got some stuff to talk about. Now, look. Artifact, which is the hot new game designed by Richard Garfield, which is currently on Steam, which you have to pay $20 to play. There is absolutely no way to get free packs. You got to pay for absolutely everything. You can sell stuff on the Steam market or whatever. I think you can sell and buy stuff to get cards that way. But that's the thing. He wrote an article where he was basically saying, hey, Magic players, if you're interested in Artifact, here's kind of how it works, and here's how some of the concepts are and whatever. But you have to understand, there is no aggro in Artifact. There is no ability to go underneath the opponent. Everything is a control mirror. And he said, then this is a quote, if you take absolutely nothing else from this article, take this. Artifact is a control mirror, and it's not decided by the early game unless the early game is absolutely overwhelming. And it's not.
Sounds painful.
It is. It's good. It's super complex. Soulforge. If you've ever played Soulforge, you know how they just like the creature would smash into each other at the end of the turn. That's what they do here. Except they add like a weird bind mechanic. Like you can go use you can earn gold when you're smashing against creatures against each other, and use that gold to go like buy spells later in between rounds. It's really weird, but it's kind of cool. But it's super complicated, and it's not necessarily easy to learn. And all the people who like complicated games are like, this is incredible. This is the best game I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, man, because you like complicated stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like Euro games. Those are complicated. It takes you 45 minutes to learn a game. I'm on board. But this one, I played it for a little while. It's fine.
I think Randy Bueller has been tweeting about it and really, really likes it. And I'm just like, I haven't gone anywhere near it. So
this is another one of those things where it's got a lot more money than Magic. And for what it's worth, that's a low bar, but it's got a lot more money than Magic, and it's taken people as a result because all of a sudden people are going to be esports teams and stuff that are already established, because it's not necessarily these people who come out of nowhere for Artifact. No, it's the current esports kind of industry just kind of bringing Artifact into the fold. So now you're the Artifact guy.
Yep.
You're the Artifact guy on this big esports team, and that's your role to play. And they'll pay you a salary, and you can actually live off this money, and you can earn money beyond that, because playing Magic is just not profitable in a way that games like these start out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
This isn't like this game has been here for 10 years and they're just getting serious. No, man, this is day one. Day one, people are starting to make livings off of this game.
Right.
That's the thing.
Crazy.
So, there was a esports championship here recently for Injustice 2, the Injustice 2 Pro Series, as it were, and Dominic Sonic Fox McLean was the champion of that, which was great. He got $40,000, which was awesome. But apparently, I guess second place didn't get nothing but a hard time. So he gave $10,000 of that to the family of Rewind, who finished in second place. And Rewind's father has stage 3 cancer, went into surgery the day before the EVO 2018 champ left for the Injustice 2 Pro Series. So it's clearly amazing that Sonic Fox did this, and obviously we want to wish Rewind's father a speedy recovery.
Yeah, Sonic Fox is amazing. We've talked about him before. He's been making a lot of waves lately, not only for being a good player, but really just sort of the epitome of, and I remember the story, I think it was on Kotaku, where it was like, here's the gay black furry who, won this huge video game tournament. He's very open about who he is, and he's very proud of that. And, his persona, and he's very unapologetic in a way that we really haven't seen before. And just a good dude. People like Ninja tend to get sort of the lion's share of the spotlight, but lion furry, sorry. But tend to get the lion's share of the spotlight. But then you have good dudes like Sonic out here who are, who are good for diversity, who really want people to, be comfortable and come out and be happy, and sort of, doing that whole thing, and also just being solid people. And there's not enough gets said about Sonic, and he's just consistently a good person.
So,
absolutely.
For all the Magic players, particularly the pros who want to feel sick, there's this list that Twin Galaxies made.
Oh my God.
That shows the top earning professional Fortnite Battle Royale players. This is just the Fortnite Battle Royale players. Okay?
Jesus.
Yeah. And Ninja isn't even in the top 10. Which
No, he's a streamer. He's not he is a pro, but he's not like a top level.
Yeah, he's making way more than these people, but oh my goodness.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, in terms
he's
of
making like $1 million a month.
Yeah, he when we're talking about, he's doing that as sort of the entertainment side, not necessarily the hardcore tournament, though he does tournaments as far as I understand it.
The top 34 Fortnite pros made 6 figures.
Wow.
Jesus. Yeah, so number one is a young man, Turner Tenney, $465,425. Second place was Dennis Lepore, $418,650. This is wild. This is oof.
I bet between pros and content creators, there are 4 people who make over 100K.
In Magic?
In Magic.
Oh, for sure.
Solely on Magic, or does that count day jobs?
No, I mean,
no, solely on Magic.
It's just Magic, whether they make Magic content or whether they're a Magic Pro and they make pro money plus that. That's it. And I'm probably
Does that count?
stretching.
Wait, does that count vendors, like people who are dealers also?
I think he said content creators.
Just content creators. These are just,
Right, but if they
people-
do content and are also a vendor, are you counting that?
Who is that? Like, there's not enough of those.
Neely Cassis.
Sure, and like, but he doesn't make content more or less for a living, is what I'm saying. People
Sure,
who make
okay.
content for a living,
Fair.
I think there's 4, and I think that number might be high.
Yeah.
But again, this just makes you go like, it gets tougher just every year as we watch less and less go to the pros in Magic and more go to the pros in every other sport, and watching new games that have this type of financial support just draw all the good players away, because you're like, no, PV, come play Magic. We want you to play Magic. You're good at Magic. Remember, you're in the Hall of Fame and everything. He's over there playing Artifact.
Right.
I don't even recall him talking too much about the Pro Tour. Like he was at the last Pro Tour, and I just didn't recall seeing him. I've seen some silence from several pros where I'm just like you said, come back. Like, where are you going?
Yeah, and granted,
Granted, wasn't at the last Pro Tour.
I mean, and context is important. Fortnite makes $1 billion. Like, seriously, they make hundreds of millions of dollars like a month. It gets stupid. How much money they make. So, yes, we are talking about different worlds. So I want to keep that in context. But again, you make more money almost doing any other game. It's kind of shocking, really.
Yeah. Well, we do have the big announcement on the 6th, which is coming up. Maybe that will change things.
There is supposed to be an announcement. I've heard rumors that there's supposed to be some new format, but I don't know if that's remotely true.
Who knows?
I've heard things as well, but I can't.
Oh, we've heard.
I'm not going to pull a James Chilcott and ruin my sources, just.
Heyo.
In order to get the latest news, you have to tune in next Tuesday morning for Good Morning Ravnica or whatever.
They should run with the Good Morning Ravnica thing. That'd be pretty sweet. Absolutely. So I don't know. I mean, in terms of what could be happening next week, I guess we'll find out. It's very exciting.
Tune in for more next week on Good Morning Ravnica.
I love your newscaster voice.
I did that voice for this Saturday's episode of The Broken Pact for the intro.
Nice. Oh, that's so good.
So if you want to tune into The Broken Pact this weekend, I went with the news headlines.
Look at you promoting yourself. I'm so proud.
I mean, well, what I thought was going to be too many takes turns out to be not as many. One thing we can come back here and talk about, which I actually skipped over accidentally, was in Gather the Townsfolk about MTG Arena coming to different platforms.
Right.
The idea that it was coming to the Mac, and then it was like, well, is it coming to the Mac or not? Because as far as I understand, and this is when I talk to even the programmers who work at Cool Stuff, the Unity architecture, the way Unity works in terms of making games in a Unity environment, they're playable on Windows, kind of by default, as I understand it. To get them to be playable on Mac, you literally buy the license to export the Mac version, and then you just go File, Export, and you're done. And so, like, maybe, I'm sure it's more complicated than that. Everything that is programming is, don't worry. But the idea that you have this very easy, capable way of making a Mac version, and then all of a sudden you're saying, like, well, we might make a Mac version. And like, no, don't might me. You're making a Mac version. Don't screw this up. It's very clear. It's very easy. This is a program that's perfect for a Mac. What are you doing? So there was sort of a hubbub of like, guys, why are you even hinting that you're not going to be on the Mac? That's ridiculous. Give me a cross platform.
Yeah, and then I think just the way they worded it was like, tell us what systems you want to see or what formats you want to see. And then when people kind of called them out on it, they were like, no, we're leaving it up to you. We're empowering you. And it was just like, oh, girl.
But are you though?
Yeah.
Let's not put the horse before the cart. Let's get this thing on iPad.
Well, yeah, I mean, it needs to be, first of all, again, for me, Mac is easy to export. The Mac and the iPad should ideally, more likely, be like the same export. Like, this is not a huge difference. Get into your phone, that's different. That's going to take some time. That's going to take some work. And I fully believe they're going to get there. But it's going to be a minute. So, okay, we are 1 minute out of choosing a winner for this week's giveaway from CoolStuffInc.com, a $50 gift certificate, which is always fun. We 55 seconds to go. So thanks to everyone.
Boy.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
what?
I was
Are
gonna
you just
ask,
going
are
to
we
tater
just
for 55
counting down
seconds?
the
Is that what's good?
Right. What's happening during this
Right.
55 seconds?
Ruben, I need you to quickly start tatering right now.
I did already. I had a little bit of tater. We got some emotes in the chat.
They were so happy too. At first, people were like, "Wow, your internet is better in Nepal," and then all of a sudden, you tatered, and it wouldn't be a show without that.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight from Nepal with them taters, which is a thing.
Nepal taters.
We are, and I'll go ahead and go here to Going Infinite. We have officially fulfilled all of our Dominaria Kickstarter stuff. Yay! We ran it in April, and it's here in the end of November. Yay.
Tokens have gone out. People are tagging us and everything, and it's glorious. And so you put those tokens and playmats to good use.
Yeah, the tokens and the playmats and all that good stuff are arriving. We're seeing pictures on social media. That makes me very happy. This was stressing me out because we were talking about running additional ones, and I just could not, in any good conscience, run another Kickstarter when I had 2 that weren't finished. So now we have 1 that's not finished. So we're going to try to catch up to ourselves here. We're going to run through. We're not going to do one for Ravnica Allegiance, but we'll do one for set 3. Okay, because by then we should be 100% done with Guilds of Ravnica. Ideally, already have the art and stuff ready to go for the 3rd one. So that, again, right now, ideally, I would have the artwork and we would be doing Guilds of Ravnica at the same time. So I want to get that in place. I've been trying to do that, and it's always a little bit difficult working with artists and trying to get stuff at a timely fashion. It is what it is. That said, let's go ahead and pick ourselves a winner. Crimson Anima is our winner.
And they just recently subbed today too. Oh, thank you.
Very nice. Well, thank you very
nice.
much. So Crimson Anima, hit us up. I think there's a way to message the bot or message Aaron, or I don't know. This is where I get awkward and I'm like, just contact the thing and do a stuff.
One of my favorite parts about doing my Patreon streams is when I take over the Magic Mike's Twitch page and I get to see all the messages you've missed where it's like, hello, I'm a winner. And then I'm the one having to reply to people from like months ago.
I'm horrible. All right, got it. So I'm sorry, everyone, but I don't do everything that well. That said, we can go ahead and get into our giveaway and our thanks. Thanks very much. Here, let's see. Pumpkin Bomb subscribed via Prime. Thank you much. Mr. MTG Pack Foils came back for 2 months. Arcane Lore is back for 6 months. Draco Lucian come back for 3 months. Thank you very much. Jersey Bricklayer resubbed for 8 months. Why was Aaron not a human necromancer on the token?
We had to pick things that were, I think, what was our restriction? It had to be
for Dominaria.
It was, I think it had to be some. There was something.
There was something that matched the art.
Yeah, it was
right. And so we were restricted in terms of we had to fit sort of the Teferi mold, the Karn mold, and the Joyra mold. But fear not, an Aaron Campbell zombie token is coming down the pipe, and it is. You're gonna love it.
It's pretty good. MTG Effect resub for 3 months. Thank you. Crimson Anima for 3 months. Beyond Sadistic for 3 months. Thank you much. Droopy Koopy showed up for 4 months. That's fantastic. Apex 41 subscribed. Thank you much. Mike Rad A6 subscribed. Thank you much. Jersey Bricklayer gifted a sub to Grappling Farang, which is awesome. As we talked about, JBA 734 gifted 5 subs to 5 different people.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Also resub for 3 months. Here he says 3 months strong. Yeah, bringing that sweet MTG news to you. Rivarian subscribed. Thank you much. Thunder Voice _1 resub for 8 months. Thanks a lot. Centural has sub via Prime, which is great. The Pilot, the PILAT, has subscribed via Prime. Thanks much. Metalhead 503 also subscribed. Thank you very, very much. Who wants to go over the bits?
I can go over the bits because I popped out the chat.
You get those.
So
bits.
I want to thank JBA 734 for today's top bits at 1,000, which is very nice. Thank you. Also, thank you to Sexy Soy, Smill Cows, Metalhead 503, Martin Kesa, Magius1, Captain Harlock, Mr. Lubufu, and Dios Rules.
Oh my goodness. And thank you all so much for being so patient. I had posted a little something to the Facebook and the Reddit because of the holiday and the boys traveling. We really do appreciate you guys waiting for us. And we didn't mean to be gone so long. And we really appreciate how great you all have been about it. So thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to the Maverick Girl, our friend Kendra, for subscribing via Twitch Prime.
I see you Thunder with that last minute sub.
There we go. And Thunder Voice 1 for the bits as well.
Nice,
very nice.
Nice.
All right, so let's move on here. Turn the corner to the finisher. American Thanksgiving was last week, and it provides us a good opportunity to reflect on all of the good from the last year. So since we skipped last week, what are you thankful for this Thanksgiving, Aaron?
Oof. Well, I'm thankful for new hours at my job, a graveyard that's taller than my deck, and my favorite holiday dishes: Noah Bradley, Reed Duke, and Adam Savadan.
Adam's been working out.
Hashtag Savadaddy. Am I right? Just
whoa, hey-o.
Fans.
Well, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for our loving and supportive fans anytime the Cube is on Magic Online, and my travels over 2018 to visit Victoria, British Columbia, and Nepal to visit the basic lands where I draw my mana, the snow-covered mountains.
Very nice. And I was afraid that was going too tatery, but we got there. That's awesome. Well, look, I'm thankful for a beautiful family, an amazing job at Cool Stuff, and a completed Dominaria Kickstarter. It's just time to coincide with the Heroes of Dominaria board game, both perfectly on schedule.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. That thing releases next Wednesday. Yeah. Dominaria came out April. This was going to come out originally in July.
Oh, man. I'll look forward to seeing it on the sale rack at Barnes & Noble.
Oh, yes. And we see you, Mr. Martin Casa, for your resub for, I believe it's 8 months. Didn't catch 7 months. So that's awesome. Thank you much. So that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Rubes.
I have to go back out into the Kathmandu air soon, so I put my face mask back on.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, be safe out there and don't breathe anything you ain't supposed to. Yeah. All right, go to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.